Hello everyone, I'm back with part
History
2
chapter.
chapter 11, The Making of National Movement. And in our previous class, we had discussed about nationalism, moderates, radicals, and we ended with the growth of mass nationalism. And today, we are going to start with the advent of Mahatma Gandhi. At the age of 46, Mahatma Gandhi arrived in India in 1915 from South Africa, having led Indians in that country in non violent marches against racist restrictions. He was already a respected leader known internationally. His South African campaigns had brought him in contact with various types of Indians: Hindus, Muslims, Parsis, Christians, Gujaratis, Tamils, upper class merchants, lawyers, and workers. Mahatma Gandhi spent his first year in traveling throughout the country, understanding the people, their needs, and the overall situation. His earliest interventions were in local movement in Champaran, Kheda, and Ahmedabad, where he came into contact with Rajendra Prasad and Vallabhbhai Patel. Let us now focus in some detail on the movements organized between 1919 and 1922. And the first was the Rowlatt Act. Rowlatt Act was introduced by British in 1919, and in the same year Gandhiji gave a call for a satyagraha against this act. According to this act, any Indian could be arrested without trial in the court of law. The act curbed fundamental rights such as the freedom of expression and strengthened police powers. Mahatma Gandhi, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and others felt that the government had no right to restrict people's basic freedoms. They criticized the act as devilish and tyrannical. Gandhiji asked the Indians to observe 6th April 1919 as a day of non violent opposition to this act, as a day of humiliation and prayer and hartal. Satyagraha Sabhas were set up to launch the movement. The Rowlatt Satyagraha turned out to be the first all India struggle against the British government, although it was largely restricted to cities. In April 1919, there were a number of demonstrations and hartals in the country, and the government used brutal measures to suppress them. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre, inflicted by General Dyer in Amritsar on Baisakhi Day, that was 13th April, were a part of this repression. We all know that Mahatma Gandhi always saw India as a land of all people who lived in the country: Hindus, Muslims, and those of other religions. He was keen that Hindus and Muslims support each other in any just cause. This is a picture of Gandhiji and Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And here are some pictures of Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Now let's have a look at Khilafat agitation and the non-cooperation movement. In 1920, the British imposed a harsh treaty on the Turkish Sultan or Khalifa. People were furious about this because of Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Also, Indian Muslims were keen that the Khalifa be allowed to retain control over Muslim sacred places in the erstwhile Ottoman Empire. The leaders of Khilafat agitation, Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Shaukat Ali, now wished to initiate a full fledged non cooperation movement. Gandhiji supported their call and urged the Congress to campaign against Punjab wrongs. Punjab wrongs here means Jallianwala Bagh massacre, the Khilafat wrong, and demand Swaraj. The non cooperation movement gained momentum through 1921 to 1922. Thousands of students left government controlled schools and colleges. Many lawyers such as Motilal Nehru, C.R. Das, C. Rajagopalachari, and Asaf Ali gave up their practices. British titles were surrendered and legislatures boycotted. People lit public bonfires on foreign cloth, and the imports of foreign cloth fell drastically between 1920 and 1922. Now let's have a look how common man was participating in these movements. In many cases, people resisted British rule non-violently. In others, different classes and groups interpreting Gandhiji's call in their own manner protested in ways that were not in accordance with his ideas. In either case, people linked their movements to local grievances. Now let's have a look at some of the examples. In Kheda, Patidar peasants against high land revenue. In Andhra and Tamil Nadu, liquor shops were picketed. Tribal and poor peasants started forest satyagraha against new forest laws. In Sindh and Bengal, support Khilafat movement. In Punjab, Sikh demanded to remove corrupt mahants from gurudwaras. In Assam, tea garden laborers demanded to increase wages. People were shouting, Gandhi Raja ki jai, and Gandhiji referred to as Gandhi Raja. Sometimes people thought of Gandhiji as a kind of Masiha, as someone who could help them overcome their misery and poverty. Some credited him with their achievement. At other times, using Gandhiji's names, tribals and peasants undertook actions that did not conform to Gandhian ideals. As we all know, Mahatma Gandhi was against violent movements. He abruptly called off the non cooperation movement when, in February 1922, a crowd of peasants set fire to a police station in Chauri Chaura. 22 policemen were killed on that day. The peasants were provoked because the police had fired on their peaceful demonstration. Once the non cooperation movement was over, Gandhiji's followers stressed that the Congress must undertake constructive work in the rural areas. Other leaders, such as Chittaranjan Das, Motilal Nehru, argued that the party should fight elections to the councils and enter them in order to influence government policies. The revolutionary nationalist Bhagat Singh too was active in this period. The decade closed with the Congress resolving to fight for Purna Swaraj, means complete independence, in 1929 under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru. Consequently, Independence Day was observed on 26th January 1930 all over the country. Now let's have a look at Dandi March. In 1930, Gandhiji declared that he would lead a march to break the salt law. According to this law, the state had a monopoly on the manufacture and sale of salt. Mahatma Gandhi, along with other nationalists, reasoned that it was sinful to tax salt since it is such an essential item of our food. Gandhiji and his followers marched for over 240 miles from Sabarmati to the coastal town of Dandi, where they broke the government law by gathering natural salt found on the seashore and boiling sea water to produce salt. The combined struggles of Indian people bore fruit when the Government of India Act of 1935 prescribed provincial autonomy and the government announced elections to the provincial legislatures in 1937. The Congress formed governments in 7 out of 11 provinces. In September 1939, after 2 years of Congress rule in the provinces, the Second World War broke out. Critical of Hitler, Congress leaders were ready to support the British war effort, but in return, they wanted that India be granted independence after the war. But British refused and Congress resigned in protest. Now let's see what is there in Quit India movement. In August 1942, Quit India movement started by Gandhiji. Gandhiji urged people do or die. Gandhi and other leaders arrested, but movement spread. People set up their own government. By the end of 1943, 90,000 people were arrested and 1,000 people were killed in police firing. In many areas, orders were given to machine gun crowds from airplanes. The rebellion, however, ultimately brought the Raj to its knees. Meanwhile, in 1940, Muslim League moved resolution demanding independent state, not partition or Pakistan. Provincial elections of 1930 convinced the League that Muslims were a minority. Congress did well in general constituencies and League succeeded in getting reserved seats for Muslims. In March 1946, the British cabinet sent a three-member mission to Delhi to examine this demand and to suggest a suitable political framework for a free India. After the failure of cabinet mission, the Muslim League decided on mass agitation for winning its Pakistan demand. It announced 16th August 1946 as Direct Action Day. On this day, riots broke out in Calcutta, lasting several days and resulting in the death of thousands of people. By March 1947, violence spread to different parts of northern India. Many 100,000 people were killed, and numerous women had to face untold brutalities during the partition. Millions of people were forced to flee their homes, torn asunder from their homelands. They were reduced to being refugees in alien lands. Partition also meant that India changed, many of its clients changed, and a new country, Pakistan, was born. So, the joy of our country's independence from British rule came mixed with the pain and violence of partition. This was a story how two sisters became separated, and this is a map after the partition. Here we have reached to end of this chapter. I hope you all have understood this chapter very well. Have a great day ahead. Stay healthy and study hard. All the best.